Stop doing what you're doing, whatever you're doing over there, and say hello and shalom. Make sure you unmute your microphone so that we can hear you. Oh, I love the books. I love the bookshelves there.
There we go.
There we go.
Hello, Rabbi.
Hello,
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to you too. Oh, I knew. You're a yid. You're a yidlach. You're a nice little. What's your Hebrew name?
Chana.
Chana. Were you bat mitzvah, or they didn't do that to girls?
No.
Circumcised, or did they do that to?
Yeah, I did. At later years, I had a circumcision down there. Yeah, yeah. It's very pretty, and I had what they call a designer vagina.
A design of a vagina.
I did design a vagina at the same time. It was perfect.
Well, does it look like anyone I know?
Yeah, it kind of looks like what's the country singer with the beard? He's about 85 years old.
Willie Nelson.
That's right. It looks like Willie Nelson. There you go.
George, it's John Lennon on the left thigh, George on the right.
Right.
I know the joke. God damn it!
You know that joke.
I tell that every week in shul. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is ANDREA BELL WOLFF, and she is an actress. She is a dancer. She has been in Vegas. She has been on Broadway. She has toured and done regional theater. And, of course, she will be doing her one-person show off Broadway at the AMT Theater. Let me get the dates on this so that we can tell everybody to buy tickets and to go see it. Where the hell's my notes on you? Where is it? It's playing from July 30th, so the end of this month, through August 24th. And the AMT is very, very convenient. It's like between 8th and 9th Avenue over on West 45th Street. So how long have you been working on this one-person autobiographical show?
Okay. Well, we started about, I'm going to say, right before COVID. We started working on it, and then I did it as a cabaret at Don't Tell Mama for 6 performances. And I was basically kind of sold out, which I was really shocked even during COVID. And even when we had that terrible storm, I thought there'd be like 2 people in the audience. And Cindy Meyer, who runs Don't Tell Mama, said to me, I was shocked. Where'd all these people come from? But anyway, and it got very good reviews. And people said to me, this is more like a musical comedy theater piece than a cabaret. And it is. So they all said to me, you need to put this in a theater. So then I'm going to say a few months ago, a friend of mine who was doing his show at the AMT Theater offered me a couple, it's called Love Quirks. You know him, SelfEyes and Hirsch.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And we also have another connection, Gary Morgenstein.
Oh, he was just on the show too.
I know.
Yeah.
Because I'm in his play coming up in December called The Tomato Can't Grow in the Bronx.
Tomato, that's American. You're in that. I did not know this.
I'm in that. I play Gladys Sims.
Because, let me explain to the people at home. All Jews know each other. And this is how we control the media. This is how we do it. This is why ABC, CBS, NBC, even Fox is Rupert Murdoch. We talk, we do, we control. But continue, please. So you know all these people at AMT. How about getting me a fucking show at AMT?
All right,
well, that, goddammit.
Well, all right, come on. I'll put you on the stage with me.
I'll do it.
So anyway, so I met Gary. This is through totally different, a friend Jack of mine. I did like a 2-line thing in something called Joyland, which was going to be supposedly, hopefully something to get picked up by Netflix. And I had one fakakta line, and all I had to say was, are you finished yet? I have a hair appointment. Okay, so that was my big thing on Joyland. Okay,
my wife says that every Friday night.
All right, of course, yeah. So anyway, my friend Jack, who is good friends with Gary, when he was looking for Gladys Sims, Jack said to Gary, I have the perfect woman. And Gary's like, no, she's too glamorous. I don't see her as, he says, I'm telling you, she's a character actress. Stick her on a wig, take off the makeup. She's an old bubby, okay? She can play the bubby. All right, so I auditioned for him, and sure enough, and so we're going to be doing that in December at the Chain Theater. So I had to make sure that I plugged this for Gary. So, and anyway, so going back to Adventures in Vegas.
Your show, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're plugging everybody else.
Yes. So,
and remember, it is fun to plug yourself if you buy the right vibrating implement.
Yeah, it is kind of like, that would be a nice thing to do, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So we did the show at Don't Tell Mama, and this thing came on my lap about doing a couple of performances at the AMT Theater, and I jumped on it because I said, this is a great opportunity. Of course, producing your own show is, what a headache.
Let me ask you right there, what was so many things to juggle? What was the hardest one to deal with to get the show up?
Okay, I think the hardest thing was dealing with the fact that the AMT Theater is newly renovated. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of starting from scratch, and they were kind of not sure what they were doing. So that kind of left me. And in the beginning, they weren't going to have a stage. And they just built the stage. Thank you, God. But I said, I'm 4'9". No one's going to see me. You're going to see like a cowlick at the top of my head. That's what you would see. But anyway, that got rectified, and
did they turn it from a black box into a proscenium, or what is it? It's
well, it's still a black box, and it's got seating. It's got 99 seats in there, but they needed to raise up because it was just a platform. They didn't have the stage, and you couldn't see the people from the waist down, which is.
That's my favorite place to see them.
I know, and especially me, as I said, you'd say nothing.
Not to mention, you were in a Las Vegas review called Bottoms Up. If I want to look at you, I'm going to see
Believe me, in this show, people are going to see my bottom. I mean, it's not really overtly out there, but it's. This show is a little racy. It's got. It's filled with innuendos.
Oh, I'd like to know your endo because it was bottom.
Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't call it vulgar, and it's not overtly. There's no overt nudity, except I do have this gorgeous guy in the show with me, who's actually going to be joining us hopefully in a little bit.
Right.
And he comes out with a little bare chested and stuff like that.
I don't want to see that.
I know. But the women, they all say to me, Andrea, do you still have that gorgeous guy in your show? And I go, yes, I do. So
his tits, I do not need to see, with all due respect to him.
Yeah.
You know what? If he comes on, he wants to take off his shirt, that's fine by me. I'll look the other way. You want to take off your shirt? I'm down with that. Go ahead.
Right. Although I think at this point, if I took my shirt totally off, your audience would click off really fast.
Well, just take the camera way down to your knees, and we'll be able to.
Really, they're not a PSA and hi. They're kind of like, hi, hello. So,
they're turned into old Jewish women. It's like, hi, how are you? How's it going? Remember when I used to give milk? All right, but anyway.
Yes, right, okay.
Disgusting chat I've ever had.
Yes. I am already. Okay, so.
All right, so you're dealing with this new theater. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So in 1970, I was in the Bottoms Up review in Las Vegas. I had left my position in Hello Dolly on Broadway because I had done it for about 1,000 performances, and I just felt like I needed to move on. And a friend of mine, Marsha Lewis, who people in the theater all know who she was.
Marsha Lewis, yeah, okay.
Marsha Lewis. She was like
Chicago, wasn't she, for a minute?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was one of my best friends, my closest friends. Unfortunately, she passed away a few years ago. But anyway, she said to me, Andrea, I have this friend who's got the show in Las Vegas, and they're coming to the Playboy Club to play, and I think that he should meet you. So she set up an audition, and I went, and the guy loved me, like hired me like almost on the spot. And then I went off, here I was, like 19 years old. I went off to Las Vegas, and I kept a diary. And so there is some very interesting stuff, because you know what happens in Vegas.
Does
not stay in Vegas now, because I'm going to say it in my show. So
well, let me ask you, before we get to the stuff that you did as a young girl, sexy young lady, could go and do and have fun, were there things since you mentioned the Playboy Club in Vegas, were there things that were done to you that were not okay, that were, that you look back in the Me Too era and you go,
Yes.
I was, yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I talk about them in my show. So although my show is a comedy, we do have some very emotional moments in there. And, I've had people come up to me after the show and say, I laughed till my side hurt. But however, there were times when you made me cry. So I said, well, if I did that, then I did my job.
Yeah. That's why I tell my proctologist, I laugh, and then, and the tears, and then laughter again. It's kind of but so do you name names though? Like, I always wonder about people who say, oh, there was this person, this guy, this director, this doctor, this whatever, who did this, and it was not okay, but he did it. It was a different era, but they don't say the name for some crazy reason. They don't want to shame a person who should be in prison.
No, I was never raped, or I was never, look, I was young, but I wasn't naive, and I had been around the block. And actually, I'd been around the world a couple of times by that point. I was
like 69, really. But
yeah, I was a child of the 60s. And, during that time, everything was very free, very open. And that's who I was. I was a free spirit. Okay. And so, I kind of enjoyed, those growing up and being
how many orgies were you in?
Oh,
how many orgies?
Never one. Unfortunately, no, because I knew I would be the star, and I didn't want to take away from the other people in the orgy. I didn't want all these men just pouncing on me, all these other women on the side sitting there going, "Hey, so what about me? What's wrong with me?"
You topped me. Not a lot of people can do that. I had the orgy joke, and you just went way above. This is a funny lady who is, by the way, doing a show called Adventures in Vegas that you can see at the AMT. Oh, yeah, we have a link on the Facebook feed so that people can click and get tickets at the AMT Theater, July 30th through August 24th. So, but now I'm a little. Is it a musical? Is there songs in it?
It's a musical. And we cover every genre basically in those songs. We have songs that are done by a pop singer called Emily Sandé, and I have a John Waite song in there. And I'm doing Dance with Somebody, and we do a different rendition to it. It's not done like Whitney Houston did.
And this is not your first. What? Do you do Hava Nagila in there? I just have a
Hava Nagila? Yeah. And I want everybody to applaud at the end. So at the very end of the show, I go, everybody join in. Hava Nagila.
I was so slutty. I opened my legs for everybody. No, I'm kidding. God damn it. So, but this is not you've done other one-person shows about your life, or at least one person.
Yes, I have. Yeah. I did another show, I'm going to say like 4 years ago, called Prisoner of Love. And it actually talks about the fact that as a young person, I was obsessed with the male paraphernalia. And I was basically a prisoner of always falling in love, falling in lust, however you want to call it. And I talked about all those relationships. And I am an honest person, and I feel like if you're going to go up on the stage and you're going to talk about your life, you better be truthful. Yes. Because, someone's going to call you on it if you don't.
I would literally shout from the third row.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I also did a show a few years ago at the Iridium in New York called Big Girls Do Cry. And it was in the music of the 60s. And I did all girl group. I had two very tall backup singers next to me. And that was a great show. And then right before COVID hit, I did a Stevie Nicks show at the Green Room, not the Green Room, because I did another show at the Green Room, at the Cutting Room.
Oh, yeah.
And I sold out. There were like 245 people in there. They couldn't even sit them. It was standing room.
Now, do you do Stevie Nicks with her voice? Do you impersonate, or do you?
I do a little, yeah. Well, the thing is, I have that inclination in my voice anyway, so I really don't need to even try that hard. One of the reasons why I did the 60s show is because when I sing, I sound a lot like Ronnie Spector. I mean, if you're looking for a show where people sing soprano and beautiful legit, that's not me. I'm more of a pop singer. Yeah. And although I am a Broadway background as a Broadway belter, that's kind of.
You know what? The Broadway sound has changed. Yes. Over the last 20 years. You go into a show like Dear Evan Hansen, that doesn't sound like
that. Exactly. Exactly. I just saw Six the other night, and that was like crazy.
A very different. Crazy. So, we're here with Andrea Bell Wolff. I have so many other questions to ask of you. Do you have any, because you were first on tour and then on Broadway for, as you said, 1,000 performances of Hello, Dolly, do you have any Carol Channing? She was on the show here before she died, thank God, because after she died, she's very quiet. But do you have any Carol Channing stories about her meals? I heard she was a wonderful woman.
Well, you know, I went on a road with Carol. That was my first. I went in as a replacement for Ermengarde, and they had already. I had gone for the original audition, and it was down between me and two other girls. One of the other girls got it, not me. And then I'm going to say 6 months later, my manager called. And I was going to professional children's school that time. I was like a junior in high school. And my manager called me and said, they want to see you again. The girl is leaving. And so I went and auditioned and I got the part. And I went off to Rochester to join the show. And Carol, I'll never forget the first night she pulled me out from the lineup and she gave me a special bow. She was very nice, Carol, but her husband at the time didn't really let her really.
He was the crazy gay guy. He didn't really let her really intermingle with the cast that much, but she was very nice. We would be away at these Pocahontas cities somewhere in Hodunk, and she would rent out the movie theater like after our show, and we would be able to go and get all the candy and the popcorn we wanted, and we would watch movies. And one night she gave us a beautiful gala dinner just for the cast. And I'll never forget, I actually have a picture with her where there's this big heart, and she wrote on it, because as Ermengarde, I was always waving at the train station, and she wrote with little baby waves always, love you, Andrea. But I also had wonderful experiences. I went on the road with Dorothy Lamour. And she was wonderful. Okay, as many things. You're going to be with Dorothy Lamour. You might as well be on the road to somewhere if you think.
Right. And when I was on the road with Dorothy Lamour, President Johnson at the time came to see the show. Okay, he came to my dressing room because he said he wanted to meet me. I mean, I was never political. I didn't know what, really, to tell you the truth, at that time I was young. Really, I knew that the Vietnam War was going on, but it wasn't like on the forefront of my mind, except I knew a lot of the young boys that I knew were going off to war. And okay. So anyway, he came to my dressing room and he grabbed my hand and he kissed it. And he said, Miss Bell, I went under Andrea Bell at the time. Miss Bell, I sure did love your performance. And, I thought that was great, but it's not until now that I realized, hey, that was a pretty special moment. So then I was also on the road with Betsy Palmer doing Hello, Dolly. And then on the Broadway company, I worked with Betty Grable.
Betty Grable?
Betty Grable, who I had, when I was in Vegas, I was in the mall one day and I bumped into her walking in the mall.
Did you see her legs first or her face first? How did you recognize her?
No. I know. Yeah, I saw her face first. I didn't. Her legs, she was wearing slacks, so we didn't notice it. Okay, so then wait a minute. I'll go fast because I'm sure. And then I worked with so it was Channing, Betty Grable, Dorothy Lamour. Oh, and I got to work with Ethel Merman, because I didn't know that she was coming into, I didn't know she was coming into the Broadway company, and I had just given my notice to go to Vegas. And so I did get to work with her for
You did or you didn't? You did not?
Performances.
Wait, you did a couple of performances.
Yes, I did.
You have an Ethel Merman story.
Yeah, no. Oh. Because only the fact that when she would walk into the room, everybody was like,
well, yeah. Well,
yeah. They were like in awe. Nobody, everybody shut up. It was like.
Was her performance the same? Because, the famous thing about her is that once she knows the line, she gets it, she is frozen. Like she does it the same every single night.
I only did 3 performances with her basically,
yeah,
because
right.
then I left. So I don't really recall to tell you the truth.
Now I have to ask you another. We're hoping your co-star is going to come on. I hope we gave him the right link. I don't see him. So
No, I'm sure that's the right link because I used his link to get onto yours.
So he's oversleeping.
I don't know.
Like he
I
can't
don't know
come
where
to.
he is.
Yeah, it's not coming
I
on
can
my.
send him. I'll send him a right now.
Send him a goddamn text. Where the hell is he? I'm
Where
Rabbi
are you,
Sol Solomon,
Elliot?
by the way. This is Andrea Wolf. You're going to want to see her off Broadway at the AMT Theater in her well, not solo. It's a musical show called Adventures in Vegas. No overt nudity, but you will sort of see her tush, probably in spandex.
You will see me wiggling my behind. I wiggle my boobs. I wiggle my boobs.
Thank you very much. Wait, hold it.
Rabbi, you're only supposed to look if it's a shiksa.
But you're not. Well, wait, you're not a shiksa.
No, you're only supposed to, right?
If it's a shiksa.
You're right. If it's a shiksa, it's okay.
So who is Mr. Wolf, by the way? Are you married to a nice guy named Wolf?
I am married to a great guy. Mr. Wolf and I met. We're going to be celebrating our 39th wedding anniversary. Even though I'm only 23, it's amazing. I don't know how we did it, but whatever. I met him. I was 33. He was 28. I was a cougar. And
that's what you did. You first were a beaver, then you became a cougar.
That's right. That's right. But the beaver's still there. But anyway, it's still functioning. Thank you very much. So
good to know.
Yeah, all right.
This is what makes him the
big.
And
anybody who's going to come to see my show has to know. All right, so they just, if it's not your cup of tea, don't come. Come before the show.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I didn't know if this was extra.
What is Wolf? What is his?
He's an attorney, and his law firm is I got a little plug, Rosenberg, Mink, Falcoff, and Wolf, and he was just voted actually one of the best attorneys in the country for what he does, which is personal injury and medical malpractice. Rabbi, you shouldn't know from it. You shouldn't need, okay?
Talking to you gives me a pain in my. Do you have your husband's number? Because I might be suing you shortly. No, for like $2 million, not much. Yeah, he can obviously afford it. It's fine.
Yeah. So anyway,
that desk behind you, I'm drooling over that desk. I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I mean, like we have like a little study or whatever. But anyway, I have 2 children. I have one child that was born with a severe disability. She was born with something called Prader-Willi syndrome. But now she is a grown woman. She lives in Connecticut in a group home. And thank God, knock wood, is doing very good. And then I have a son who's married, and I have 2 grandchildren.
Oh, with Muslim, your basket.
We still don't have Elliot. I don't know where he is.
So while waiting for him, and plus in about 5 minutes, I'm going to leave, and you're going to stay, and you're going to play the game.
Right, the trivia game.
But oh my God! But first of all, one of our friends of the neighborhood who was on our show, and then again also died, like Carol Channing. Were you a friend of Rusty Warren?
Yes.
Tell us a Rusty Warren story.
Well, okay. So, I can't tell the story that I want to tell because it's in my show and I don't want to give it away.
Fair enough.
Okay. But she was lovely and she loved me. She would comp me all the time and I would go to her show constantly. And after her shows, she would always introduce me to the audience, which was nice. Always made me feel kind of important. And, she was a really nice, great lady.
Okay, by the way, people don't know Rusty Warren. She was a musical comedian you're welcome to demonstrate as you did before. She did a song called "Bounce Your Boobies." So
right,
juggle them up.
I am doing that song in my show.
You are? Oh my God! Oh, sorry.
I am doing that song.
When I do it in synagogue, nothing. I bounce your boobies. People don't really.
Bounce your bubbies.
Bounce your bubbies. Well, listen, the bubbies were usually kind of a little stocky. It might be difficult to bounce them around.
This doesn't bounce. The flesh pockets, the handles by the hips. That
You
goes
know,
up.
I know. It's like my son says to me, why don't you come over and we'll babysit and stuff like that? I go, look, you grew up with bubbies. My mother and your other grandmother were stay-at-home women. They stayed home, they cooked, they cleaned, they took care of the kids and the grandchildren. I said, it's different nowadays. I said, I have my own life. Okay, sorry, love the kids,
Some Jewish
love the
mother you are.
children to death, but I can't be there at your beck of call all the time. I'm not the bubby.
Are you sure that there isn't a little bit of Christian in you? Because that's not very.
I don't know. There were a couple of Christians in me.
Speaking of which, and yes, there's a pun in here. Did you open, as it were, for Engelbert Humperdinck?
Well, yes. I was with Bottoms Up, not me as a solo performer.
Okay, yeah.
But we opened up for Engelbert Humperdinck a few times, and also for the Fifth Dimension.
Oh, so you were up and away
Yes.
there.
Another thing I want to mention.
Balloons.
Yes. One of the things I should mention, because if people find it kind of interesting, is that I used to with a band called Your Father's Mustache. And we used to open up for the Ed Sullivan Show. We were the warm-up. We were the warm-up band. And I would get up on the stage. I was like the singer. And I would sing things like, and this for the many things you gave me, means only that it was comedy, and then we would do, like
All right, wait, but tell me also, like, being on Ed Sullivan, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, we were on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Give us an Ed Sullivan. No, it doesn't have to be about him, but just the physical experience of doing the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah, well, I didn't really have anything to do with him. I mean, I was in the dressing room. It's your time to get on the stage, get on, get off, goodbye, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, right. But I mean, did you watch him from the wings? Did you kind of get a sense of his behavior, or
no? Because I really wasn't able to do that. I was, we were in the beginning. We would warm up the audience, and then basically I would leave.
All right. What about, though, you did TV with Donnie and Marie, and you were in sketches, right, and stuff?
I was a dancing character. I worked for Sid and Marty Krofft.
Wow. Were they stoned all the time, or?
No, they were so young back then. They were like, really young. And, I did a dancing number with Jimmy, and I was a dancing clock, and they put this costume on me, and I couldn't see for the life of me. And when I actually saw it on the air, I was like, what the hell was I doing? I don't know.
Nobody knew. I mean, were you on like Puffin stuff? Did you do everything?
No. But there are some very interesting stories about, what was her name? Billy. She also played Minnie Fay on Broadway. Billy, she was the witch, Witchy Poo. Billy.
Yes, Billy, not Barty, not Billy Burke. Billy.
No, Billy.
Eilish. Billy.
Not Billie Eilish.
Oh, somebody text in what the hell.
Look it up.
Yeah.
But there were some very interesting stories about her. I don't know if I should repeat this story.
We have 1 minute.
And I was not there, so I don't know. But I heard a story that somebody walked in on her, was in the trailer, and she had, there was this, they had these, little people in the show. They had little people. I mean, I'm tiny, but I'm not what you would consider a little person. Okay, I'm just a tiny human being. And she was like, there was a dress over her head, and she was like going down on one of these little munchkin people.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
What?
Billy Hayes.
Yeah.
Billy Hayes.
Stripping a munchkin.
So?
Well, no, but I mean.
I wasn't there. This is just a story that I've heard, so this is just hearsay. But I've been around for a long time. I've heard a lot of stories.
I see this.
Whether they're true or not,
Good for her.
I don't know. But it makes for interesting conversation.
Sure as hell does. Let me ask you though, if you could go back in time, and because you seem to have lived a very full and delightful life. You were out there. You were free, as so many of us are not.
Right.
But you were. But if you could tell yourself something like 50 years ago? You could go to yourself as a, whatever, teens, 20s, and give yourself advice. What would
Okay.
be?
My advice would be do exactly what you did and if you want to repeat what you did back then, repeat it, because I have no apologies. I have no regrets. Um, I I fulfilled my life the way I wanted to fulfill it. And there was a fire inside of me when I was 19. And I feel like that
That's
19-year-old
gonorrhea.
fire still burns deep within me,
That's
which
gonorrhea.
keeps
Doesn't
me,
go away.
it makes me who I am today, basically.
So you're one of the few people who wouldn't have a list of things that don't do this. Don't you should have done that.
No,
Yeah.
no. I will say, and someone just sent me from Nightlife Exchange 6 questions to answer about my life. And one of the questions was, what was one of the biggest lessons you learned? So one of the biggest lessons I learned was when I went to Vegas at 19. I was used to people from the East Coast, which are basically, we're, pretty open and free. And we know, okay, I was thrown into a pool of people from all over the country who are not like us on the East Coast, okay? Closed-minded. I encountered anti-Semitism for the first time.
Oh, tell that story.
All right. So anyway, the cast, I think there were like 12 of us in the cast. And most of them were from Texas, and they had already been working together for many, many years. And so when I went in, I was the youngest and I was new. And my boss, who was gay, was not interested in me in any kind of sexual way, but I became his little protege. And so there was jealousy. And there was a lot of things like, well, that little Jew that just came in, and she's just going to be taken over, and who does she think she is? What does she think she's going to, I navigated myself through that to not cause anything to be worse, but to try to make things better. Okay. And so look, I was never close friends. The only friends that I actually had, there were 2 Black girls in the show, and they became basically my best friends that were in the show. Okay. Because the 2 of us were kind of a little bit like the outcasts from the group.
Okay.
All right.
That's what it.
Yeah. So I navigated it so that I was never close friends with any of those other people. However, we ended up all getting along, and they ended up having a mutual respect for one another.
Wow. Because it was anti-Semitic, but it was more like they were just jealous of you, and they
yes, and they didn't really know, so they really had no, to tell you the truth,
they even know you were
other Jews. They were looking for my horns and my tail.
Right.
I mean,
I
I actually met a boy in Baton Rouge when I was on tour, and he asked me out, and I went out with him. And when I told him I was Jewish, I was the first Jew he had ever met. And he says, I always thought the Jewish people had horns. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Wow. So I encountered those kinds of things because this was like the early 1970s, the late 1960s. And, a lot of these, we were playing a lot of these colleges, and a lot of these young people that I was meeting had never met a Jewish person before.
Lucky them. No, I kid. Now, here's the deal. You have been delightful to stay a little extra time with me to interview you.
Right.
Now I got to bring Dave Lefkowitz in.
I understand.
You do. So much as I would love to stay and see more of your tuchus and your boobies and everything you're doing, I cannot. But Dave, oh boy, he's going to be here, and you're going to play the Today, Yesterday Trivia Comedy Quiz with him, David Sheward, and Leslie Hobang Blake. Don't panic.
Okay.
It's all good.
All right. I'll try my best.
Let me get my klezmer music going here. Hold on. Don't go away, everybody, except I'm going away.